Whatever!
Hi Playmates, how are you? It's Aristar here. Last time we left Emperor Accor drowning in his sorrow even after his victory in the Lumbre because the baby between him and Loel was not a dragon, indicating that his wife Empress Loel must have had an affair with one of his close subjects. Chapter 27 opens up a year later with the death of Loel, Marinehawk, the founder of Marinos Island, and Rera, one of the most loyal knights of Accor, and a very positive, loud, and happy person, just being gloomy over the fact that Accor is still not himself even after a year, and refusing regular audience with Marinehawk. We learn through his dialogue with Black Moon and the rest of the Grand Masters that Loel has passed away, and Emperor Accor has been a recluse since then, ignoring his duties and not meeting with anyone, putting pressure on the 8 Grand Masters to run the empire. Due to the amount of work and the suspicions of a traitor already amongst them, there was a high tension as the Grand Masters continued to fight amongst each other on what needs to be done about this gloomy situation. Black Moon suggests to the Grand Masters that are present at the time, Rude, Misty, Marinehawk, Ignite, and Jude Turner, of what they can try to do to figure out why Emperor Accor was like this. Ignite suggests that Black Moon waits until everybody is there, including Ruthbrook, Cadmos, and Vitru, but Black Moon mentions to the party that it seems that Emperor Accor is not only mourning the death of the Empress, that something else must have happened, and suggests that they question the servants that were helping at the time that Loel was giving birth for a little bit more information. Rude heads over to the servants' quarters and is met with the same assassins and intruders from before, whom he promptly defeats. Like the intruders from before, once captured, these assassins also committed suicide by ingesting poison so they cannot leak any information. Rude suspects something is wrong as he was in the servants' quarters and a very strange place for, intruders to be in the first place, and questions one of the attendants there, asking if they were okay as the intruders had attacked. The servant knight replies that there have been no issues. Rude then continues to ask the attendant if he has heard any rumors regarding the Empress Loel, to which the attendant also replies that he hasn't, and asks Rude that if he knew that there was something else that caused Loel's doubt, if that would actually change the empire, to which Rude just replies that if the attendant happens to hear or know anything to come clean and just let him know. After Rude leaves, the attendant is seen to talk to Grandmaster Cadmos, who tells the attendant he did the right thing and that Cadmos' view will be accepted as the sole truth, from which we can pretty much solidify that this Grandmaster Cadmos is the mastermind behind all that was happening. Black Moon, Misty, and Rude meet to discuss what happened at the servants' quarters, and the fact that the assassins, the intruders, was there confirmed Black Moon's suspicions that they had a spy amongst the Grand Masters. She then strongly suggests to seek the help of Misty's younger sister Violet to get a fresh set of eyes on the situation and have her meet up with Emperor Accor and to speak to him. Misty is strongly against the idea, but Black Moon reminds Misty that Violet has a natural gift of having people like her and opening up to her, and that Violet is able to read people's feelings and their hearts. Having Violet meet with Accor might be the best way to get some answers as to what the Emperor is actually going through. Misty hesitantly agrees to have her sister do this and goes out to get her, while Black Moon and Jude Turner meet separately to discuss the next steps. As we know from the previous chapter, Black Moon and Jude Turner were already investigating the strange happenings within the Empire and the intruders amongst them. The two actually run into another group of intruders and subjugates them. However, like before, the intruders commit suicide when they were sure that they couldn't win, leaving no more information to be gathered. Back outside the castle, we see Misty scolding and nagging at her younger sister Violet, whom she brought to the palace per Black Moon's plan. We see Violet is a bright and beautiful young lady who is curious and innocent, so much so that her sister Misty sees her as like an innocent puppy that just wants to be cuddled and loved all the time. Misty warns Violet to mind her manners and to not act out. The sisters are greeted by a Baikal Empire elite who tells them Emperor Accor is in his room. Misty tells him that they will wait until the Emperor comes out, but Violet goes and attacks the elite. Misty, stunned, asks her sister what the heck she is doing, to which Violet reveals that the elite is an intruder in disguise and that Misty, being so accustomed to the life at the castle, probably didn't pick up the oddities in his behavior. It turns out Violet was right, and the two sisters beat up the disguised intruder, who also ends up committing suicide once he realizes that he lost. It seems like the intruders want Accor to keep drowning in his misery and was keeping him holed up in his room. But due to the circumstances, Misty judges that it wouldn't look good with Accor to know that Violet's first visit involved a death of an elite soldier, and so tells Violet to go home while Misty takes care of the rest of the intruders and that they will tackle this on another time. Violet, being the free spirit she is, decides to tour the castle first before heading home since she's come all this way already. Not surprisingly, she meets up with Emperor Accor, who promptly tells Violet to go away. Violet, however, questions the Emperor instead, asking him simple yet provoking questions about Accor's beliefs and his emotions. She gives him new insight into the difference between not liking and hating something, and gives him hope that new, happy memories can cover up the old wounds of the past, allowing him to move on. Violet also eventually convinces the Emperor to take her on a tour of the castle as the two discuss their stories and philosophies. Back outside, Beatrice arrives on the scene of Misty fighting the intruders. They are joined by the other Grand Masters, and this time they actually have an intruder that hasn't taken the poison yet, as he was knocked unconscious and didn't have a chance to take it. The Grand Masters find out Beatrice, Black Moon, and Jude Turner were already aware and investigating those intruders, and there was a big break for them to capture one alive that hasn't committed suicide yet so they could question them. Right as they were about to question the captive, he starts to gargle and dies. Beatrice starts screaming at everyone, asking who killed the captive. Grandmaster Cadmus, Ruthbrook, and Ignite all take the stance that no one did anything to the captive and that he was probably already dying. Cadmus, Ruthbrook, and Ignite take their leave, saying that they have work to do that's more important than just fighting amongst themselves and dead intruders. Beatrice tells Misty and the rest of the knights to also return to take the Empire's work and leave the investigation of the intruders to her, as taking care of the Empire is an important task that's been left to them. We fast forward another month later where we see Emperor Accor and Violet clearly both in love with each other. Accor basically proposes to Violet, saying that she is the only one who is able to stand at his equal and to give him advice and another fresh perspective, and that with her help, he can become the ruler he once was. He gives her time to think about it, and it's pretty obvious that Violet just doesn't seem to mind either, and she's kind of playing shy just because of the shock of what had just happened. Time passes with Accor's newfound joy with Violet, and the knights all seem to be happy again, except that Ruthbrook and Ignite only find out about the affair between Accor and Violet then, 6 months later. Ruth seems surprised. He was under the impression that Beatrice had told him that she would inform all of the Grand Masters, but apparently she has not. At this time, we see Beatrice trailing the intruders somewhere farther away, and she decides to confront them to have them take her to their boss by force. It seems that it was a trap, however, and the intruders tell her that they knew she was following them and it was all part of their plan. They pull out the ancient dragon relic necklace and trap her inside, saying that they will have her witness how Accor ends up being sealed before putting her to her final resting place in a tomb in La Lumbre. And just FYI, this tomb is obviously where Xeon finds her later on in that necklace form. Back at the castle, we see Cadmus telling Accor that Beatrice has gone missing. He alludes that Beatrice had been investigating the death of Loel, as Beatrice had suspicions of what had happened, and that Beatrice hasn't told Emperor Accor about her investigation due to the circumstances that he was going through. Accor has some suspicions about why Loel's name is being brought up after all this time, but it also leads to his decision to search for Beatrice on his own based on the intel that Cadmus is telling him. So Emperor Accor calls out Violet to a large garden filled with violets, telling her that this was his gift to her. Violet tells Accor that she was named Violet as her mother dreamed of a violet garden that filled up the entire world at the time of her birth, and expresses her joy at the wonderful gift that he has given her. Accor then tells Violet that he had to leave for some time. This was of course to find Beatrice, but he didn't exactly tell her that, and that he hoped that this garden was a big enough gift for Violet to wait for his return. He also tells her that he wasn't going to tell anyone else of his leaving, to which Violet sensed the danger of his mission and promises that she will forever wait for him unless Accor is to cast her aside first, to which Accor says he will never leave her or forget her. So that's part 1 of chapter 27. Next time we'll find out what happens on Accor's mission to find Beatrice, and also discover the other tragedies that unfold for a beloved emperor up ahead. So if you like random gaming content, especially on mobile gacha games, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. I post every Wednesday and weekends. Thank you all so much for watching, stay safe, and take care.